to the Maine Health Institute for Research internship program with USM. And my name is Dave Champlin, and I'm a biology professor at USM. I'm the primary contact person as you go through the program at USM. And this is a very simple video. It's got important information we need to deal with to get started. It's simple, however, because there are just a couple of slides with folks' names on them that you'll get to know really well. And and so it's mostly just an audio, and I made it an audio instead of typing out a long email, just because I've been typing a lot the last couple of weeks. And so here we go. And so we are going to have our first orientation meeting on Friday, September 5th. That's the first week of our USM semester, and but there are things we need to get going on before that. And so this is the information for that. And so the first thing is I'm the contact person at USM. You should also talk with your faculty advisor about your experience that you're having and how to include it in your college experience and also your career development. And so let me know if you have any questions. You roll on. And these are just things that we need to deal with before the semester starts. So you've been communicating with Mackenzie LaChance at Maine Health Institute for Research, MHIR, and it's really important to complete the forms that Mackenzie has for you before the semester starts. So that's the first thing. And some of them are medical forms. You're going to be working in a facility that houses mice. And even if you aren't interacting with those mice, all the people in that building have to have certain medical forms completed. And so it's really important to get everything done with Mackenzie. And then others at MHIR who will be important contacts for you. So Liz Burks is the administrator who is primarily in charge of this program at MHIR. Liz has been involved since the start, and Liz knows a lot about the Maine Health company that runs Maine Medical Center, which runs Maine Health Institute for Research. And so Liz works a lot with Mackenzie and a couple of other administrators, and you'll get to know them very well. And they're very supportive and enthusiastic about USM students. And then Lucy Liao is a senior scientist at MHIR. They often refer to the scientists at MHIR as PIs. PI stands for Principal Investigator, and that's the title given to a person who submits a research grant to a funding agency. So they just are given that kind of odd name, PI, the Principal Investigator on a grant. There can be multiple people on a grant, but there's a principal investigator like that. So PI. Lucy is a PI. That means she has her own research lab. She has trained a USM student each year. There has been an internship program because Lucy's very enthusiastic and supportive and involved in this program. When we have meetings, our meetings are with those people at MHR. Maybe a couple more, but always with Mackenzie, Liz, and Lucy. And so Lucy knows all about the research experience and stuff like that. Liz and Mackenzie know all about the administrative experience and getting stuff filled out and forms filled out. So contact person there, and you'll be communicating with Mackenzie. But we'll even whoever host lab or PI you work with, we'll get to know all three of these people, and they're great contact people if you have issues down there. Really soon you're going to hear from someone at USM. It's Lindsay Freeman. Lindsay works in the USM Career Center, and she's going to be communicating with you about getting paid. So even though you're going to be down and doing your internship at MHIR, you're going to be getting paid by a source of funding at USM. And so that's where the pay information is all at. And there are just a couple of forms that Lindsay needs you to fill out, like an I-9 and a direct deposit. Everyone at USM that gets paid by just direct deposit into a bank account. If you've already worked any kind of job at USM, let Lindsay know that, because there'll be less paperwork for you to fill out. And so please, let's get that worked out. Your pay is going to total $8,740. And so that's a lot of money. And one of the main reasons for this video is to start helping you introduce helping introduce you to that money and the purpose of that money as part of this internship program. And so you're going to get paid bi-weekly. You're going to be paid every 2 weeks. And I don't know the amount you're going to get paid, because you're going to get paid from September through most of May, because it's a year long. And you're paid continuously. So we'll talk about that too. And but for now, communicate with Lindsay and get those forms filled out. The I-9 form is a kind of identification form where you have to go in and actually have certain types of ID, like your passport or stuff like that, driver's license, I think, to determine this is who you are. All right, and so this last year, the stipend, the payment was increased, and I will talk to you about that in a couple of minutes in this video. The next thing to mention is very soon you should contact your host lab and start making plans for when you're going to start your research. And the host plan and you are going to set your schedule. And so let me describe that. So your orientation isn't till Friday. You're going to get paid at the start of the semester. So you're getting paid. So you should contact your host lab. Ask them if there's anything you can read or look at online to prepare. Some of you will be doing a certain method a lot, and there are videos on the web of the method or methods that you're likely to spend most of your time doing. And so check in with your host lab, and you can ask them about reading, ask them about techniques, methods that you'll be doing, and you can learn about them. And your justification for learning about them is you're getting ready to do a good job down there, but also because you can start getting paid before you're even down there. And then the next thing to say about that is start making plans about your schedule with your host lab. And this is another really important piece of this video, is to describe that process. And so you're just going to communicate with your host lab and throughout the school year. And you want to tell them your schedule at least a couple weeks in advance. So you might say, for example, it's finals week in a couple of weeks, and I don't want to do any work then. Or it's spring break in a couple of weeks, and I could work full time over spring break. I'm going to be here, and I can spend extra time down there. Students vary in the hours they work and in the hours they work each week, and they set that plan up with their host lab. And it's a little bit challenging to introduce this idea to students, because a lot of times students think, well, I'm getting paid at work, I should have steady work hours. And that works a lot. It works really well for a lot of students. But those hours can vary over time, and when that changes get set up at least a couple weeks in advance. Now, the next thing to say, the second and only other thing to say about your schedule, is that once it's set, you really want to stick with it. It's like a job. The folks down there are very busy, and it takes a lot of effort for them to incorporate your training into their schedule. Also, you'll see they're helping to get stuff organized for the experiments that you're working on down there. And so that's a coordinated time process. And so once you set your schedule, it's really important to stick with it as if it's a job. And so, right, if it's a job, you don't go if you're sick. And if your car breaks down, you're like, shoot, I'm sorry, my car broke down, and, I got to get it taken care of. But it's not okay to contact your host lab, a day or two before you're supposed to be there for experiments, and say, oh, I forgot, I have an exam coming up, I got to study for it, or a paper, or, other things that you also wouldn't say miss work for, right? So it's those two parts: plenty of flexibility to planning ahead, and then once it's set, really stick with it. And that's kind of the only thing that can go wrong is that scheduling. Just give your best effort when you're down there. Well, I'm thinking about it. When you're down there, always have some homework with you, because your time down there is not going to be just work, 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 work. You're down there for training, and there'll be times when they'll say, well, we just have to wait 30 minutes while this incubates and things like that. So have homework down there. Don't expect that you're going to get to do homework down there, but just have it ready for if there are any breaks like that. They may have your time, used up by saying, well, we have a 30-minute break, but what we'll do is we'll do some other things here, like we'll organize some solutions and things like that. Then over the school year, well, you're going to be paid continuously. So we'll loop back at pay now and talk about it in the context of your schedule. So you're going to get paid a stipend, and the stipend is not an hourly rate. You're not getting paid as an employee. You're getting paid as a trainee. And the main purpose of the stipend, think about this, that the reason it was added to this is that USM found that there were lots of USM students that could not participate in this internship because they were working other part-time jobs while they were taking classes. And so the main reason that you're getting some money to do this is because the goal is to give you a chance to have the best experience possible. So if you're working at other jobs, reduce those hours and give this as much of an effort as you can. We tell students the goal is for you to have work down there about 15 hours a week on average. And that amount is set just based by the experience of all the scientists in the program, involved in the program, and what it takes for you to have a good experience down there. And to be down there 15 hours a week is good. If you're down there less, it just seems like the student never gets fully integrated into the host lab and never really gets the chance to have their own project, because every week they're down there for a short time and it's a little bit like they're starting over. Now, to work that, students work a different number of hours and different hours per week, and that's fine. You're not getting an hourly wage, you're getting this stipend to just give it your best shot and try to support you as much as possible. And that includes this finance. And you're going to get paid a lot of money for an internship. And the reason it's a lot is because USM is very supportive of this internship program and the success that students have had down there. So you're going to be paid continuously. The best example to point out is there's over a 5-week break between fall semester and spring semester. Our winter break is really long. You're going to get paid continuously through that. So the expectation is you're going to try to work throughout the year. Now, some of you will already have plans for family or traveling or something like that during the school year and over break. And the idea is, okay, well, that's great, and work with your host lab ahead of time to set your schedule. And what your schedule's roughly going to be like. So if you're going to be gone a lot during break, try to work more during the semester. Work as much as you can down there and let your host lab know in advance, what that schedule's going to be like. And we'll communicate with you along the way about that. For the payroll, you're not going to be signing like a time card. The requirement from USM for your pay is very simple, but it's important, and that is for you to send me an email each week and copy your host lab PI and just briefly let me know the hours you worked and what you did that week. And that's the only feedback expectation from USM, the source of your funding. And that's just because we want to get you experience with this open stipend salary opportunity to just give it your best shot, do the best you can, and be yourself, hang in there, and then just let me know what you're up to each week, and it'll work out great. Okay, so then the next thing to say about that is, again, your host lab down there, they're very supportive of you as a college student and how you're struggling along. So talk to them about your schedule and work it out as best you can. I should mention that there is, in the United States Department of Labor, for example, there's concern that college students could be exploited workers in an internship program. And so there are lots of laws, labor laws, governing this. And one of them is that if a college student is doing an internship in a STEM research setting, they don't need to be paid hourly wage. The work effort down at the site, goes up and down as the student is there, right? You could maybe do some homework. You're being trained. You're not being told to work. At a job, you would just be given another task, like, oh, we have a 30-minute incubation, so go stack up these boxes, like that. This isn't a job setting, but think of it like a job, and that you're trying to put in as much effort as you can. Because it's a training session, the United States Department of Labor laws say that we're not targeting a thing where you're getting paid minimum wage. You're going to get paid a lot of money, but it's not precisely a certain hourly income because it's not a steady working effort like that. So talk to me about that. Again, I'm the USM contact person. I understand that role of the finances in this experience as well as anybody. And I should mention that when you're filling out forms at MHIR, in order for them to have you there in this, secured facility and with, a name badge and so forth, for their insurance, their policies, they need to treat you as if you're an employee. So you'll hear from MHIR information, onboarding information, and stuff like orientation information as if you are an employee. So to them, you are. But to USM, you're a student, and you're a trainee. And so that's the source of funding, that's the spirit of your support from USM as having this be part of your college experience. And again, I can help describe that on September 5th when we meet, and by email on meetings anytime you want. Yep. And so again, hopefully the stipend will help you reduce time at other jobs so you can get down there as much as you can. And so then again, planning it out and recognizing that now it's a frustrating, challenging experience. The work, often the experiments don't succeed. And so it becomes a task to get down there because it's a psychological, emotional experience where you're like, ooh, I feel anxious, a little bit about being down there because my experiments aren't working. Again, there's good support people who've had a lot of experience themselves learning about working on a research lab and can support you. And, I'm one of the first contact persons. And another thing to mention about being down there is you'll see immediately it's a professional setting. So there are academic research labs, and they're very, very casual. At MHIR, there's a professional look to the researchers down there. And it's because it's a biomedical research facility. They have funding and financial supporters that can just come through at any time. And it's important to dress as if you're at a job, whereas at USM, you dress as if you're at a college and you're a student. And they have specific rules about being in lab that you'll get introduced to at the orientation, like with closed-toed shoes and stuff like that. And but just in general, be a professional down there. Match up with the atmosphere down there, and it's a fun, friendly, supportive place where people are getting a lot of work done. And then just to mention a couple more things in this video. So at the end of spring, you're going to be paid through much of May. And students will finish their internships at a slightly different times, again, based on their host lab. The it'll be most likely during finals week at USM that you finish up your work. And again, we'll just carefully communicate with the MHIR host down there as we get toward the end of spring semester. At the end of the school year in April, but before your internships ends, there are going to be two talks that you're required to give, and they're just going to be talks about your research, and they always go really well. But right now, a lot of students will be anxious about the idea of having to give talks, and we'll have meetings with the team and helping support you for that. There'll be a talk at USM program called Thinking Matters, and it'll be about your research, so you'll feel good about it because you're talking as an expert. And then there'll be a very similar talk of the internships in this program for MHR scientists at MHR, and they'll be very similar. And we'll talk a lot about them as we get closer to that. But that's another piece of your requirements as we go forward. Just to mention, there is an opportunity for some students to continue full-time next summer at MHIR. We have some funding for the summer program for students that are having a good experience, and their host lab wants them to continue full-time during the summer. More of this is better. I mention that now just so you're aware of it, but also so that you appreciate that the more energy you can put into this, the better. Longer and more is better. And just be excited, enthusiastic to participate. And if you're nervous about anything now or along the way, let me know. I've had a lot of experience, over a lot of years of, introducing students to research and lab. This is a really strong program, and so you're going to get a lot out of it. And it's not all direct. Some of it's indirect experience, gaining confidence in just a very general sense. Working in a research lab is a challenge, but you're going to get good at it. And again, that doesn't mean all your experiments work, like that. It just means that you can plug away, troubleshoot, do things consistently, fix errors, and solve problems. Like that. The students from USM that have done the program have had a lot of success after they've finished at USM. And lots of students go on to, healthcare careers, science research careers, teaching careers, working in research labs. And so it's just great. And let me know if you have any issues. There's another video I'm going to have you watch, and also ask me questions about that. We'll get this thing rolling forward. All right? Great. So thanks and welcome.